This is the orchard at Salt Spring Apple Company. Panoramic view to begin with. About 3 acres of orchard. Property overall just over 5 acres in size. We're looking east, a little bit north of east, about 7:30 in the morning. That's our nursery. In the distance in the white, those are baby trees with guards to protect from rabbits. And then there are potted trees down there on the left, and the orchard below. The oldest section is to the right there with our larger trees. And on the far left are the little tiny babies that just went in as late as the end of March of this year. And to the far left at the bottom, you can see some posts and no trees. These are trees that are ready for sale. We sell apple trees in addition to the apples themselves. And that's Scout the dog. So this is our fourth block, the little baby trees that I talked about that were just planted in March. And a lot of them are growing quite nicely, but they're still very small. And then across the aisle is block 1, the very first trees that went in. And some of these are producing apples this year. You can see a few examples in there. As time goes by, the crop will be much larger. It's a certified organic orchard. We have irrigation lines. You can see black tubing in there if you look really closely. It's a high density orchard, so the trees are planted really close together, about 1 meter apart in rows, and then there's a 3-wire trellis that supports the trees because they're shallow rooted and they could fall over when they're full of fruit if there isn't any support for them. Among the older trees that we're looking at, there's kind of a mixed bag because we bought some of the trees, but the entire remainder of the orchard were all trees that we grafted ourselves, so we're able to train them so they'll be the right size and shape. Looking up now, the house there is on the left, and the studio, which is part of our bed and breakfast, and our workshop was on the right. And now we're a little farther down, pretty much right in the middle of the orchard, looking up block 4, and then block 3 beside it, which is the next youngest part of the orchard. And as we pan across, we'll get to block 2. And this part of the orchard is all having its second summer. And now we're at the bottom of block 1. The bottom half, they're into their third summer. And so we're getting some fruit next year. This bottom half of block 1 will probably produce a lot more fruit. And we'll start the trek from little tiny production to our full production, which will be somewhere between 30 and 60 tons, so 30 to 60,000 pounds, kilos of apples per year. Quite a bit of fruit once we're in full production, but not so much yet. Last year we had around 1 ton, 2,100 pounds, something like that, of apples. Those red and blue things you see there, or they're not red and blue, they're red and green, are boxes for the apples once they get picked. And so now we're down in the lower part of the orchard in block 2 and looking across at block 3, and then we'll look back up from farther down to see the studio and the house. And we move to the very bottom of the orchard. It's a pie-shaped property, so it's really narrow down at the bottom, just 170 feet wide. And so this is looking up from there. You can see the house way up there. Those people that you saw are some of our volunteer farm workers, woofers, who are working weeding the rows, because weeds are a major effort, particularly in a certified organic orchard where we can't use chemicals. We also use paper. You see paper there on the ground. We use that as a mulch to help keep the weeds down during the spring and the summer when they grow like crazy. And then the mulch will break down and add a little bit of organic matter into the soil as it falls apart, especially in the fall and the winter. And then we'll have to put new paper on next year. So this is down at the very bottom of block 2. Fairly early in the morning. It's a bit shaded by the trees on the other side of the property line, but it is quickly in full sun and will be for the whole rest of the day. So overall, the orchard gets really good sun, which should help us ripen lots of fruit as time goes by. And so this is walking up through the bottom of block 2, and as I said earlier, these are trees that are having their second full year in the orchard. There's a few apples here and there, but we generally discourage apple production in a section of the orchard that's this young. And now we hop up to block 1, and we'll just walk up the aisle, passing by where you'll see there is more fruit, especially when we get a little farther along and into the older trees. But this is just sort of showing the stages of the maturity of the trees and their ability to make apples. And we also stop and take a quick peek at some of the tags so you can see the diversity. We have about 330 different varieties of apple growing in the orchard. Right now we've got 3,000 trees. When we're fully planted, it'll be about 3,350. There's Wolf River, an old American heritage variety. And we mix them up because by mixing them up, they get pollinated better, because an apple tree needs pollen from a different variety of apple. There's a famous old French variety, Calvé Blanc d'Hiver. So it's quite a crazy hodgepodge. As you walk up an aisle, you'll see many different varieties from all over the world. Another old American variety, Winter Banana, 19th century discovery in the US. And on it goes as we proceed back up to the top of the orchard, getting back up closer to the house again. So it's about 3 kilometers of rows in the orchard, all crammed into, as I said, just over 3 acres. Old famous English cooking apple called Bramley Seedling, much revered by people from the UK. So that's pretty much it. That's a super quickie tour of the orchard at Salt Spring Apple Company. Oh yeah, there's something a little different. Look at the shape of that apple. The variety, you can read that as Candle Synap. It's a Turkish variety, believe it or not. Long, cylindrical shape. Very unusual. But they're all the same. The Candle Synaps all come that shape. It's just the way they're produced. And that's about it. Thanks for watching.